Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Carbondale District 95 School Board Candidate Forum, sponsored by the Carbondale Branch NAACP, Carbondale United, Carbondale Black Graduate Greek Council, and the Zeta Amici of Carbondale, and hosted by the Carbondale Public Library. I am Linda Flowers, president of the Carbondale Branch NAACP. We are pleased to sponsor this forum for the citizens of Carbondale to introduce the candidates and their views concerning the education of students in Carbondale elementary and high school districts, to provide you the opportunity to make an informed decision when you vote on April 6th. I'd like to introduce you to the moderators for the District 95 Forum. Our branch vice president and education chairperson, Reverend Alfred McGowan, and Black Graduate Greek Council of Carbondale member, Danielle Cox.
At this time, we will have Robin Hughes, who will come and introduce our candidates.
Good afternoon. I would like to introduce the candidates for the District 95 Board of Education. Corey Kaufman, Erin Connolly, incumbent Kathy Field, incumbent Marquita Roper, and incumbent Carlton Smith.
Candidates, at this time, you will have 2 minutes to give your opening statement, 2 minutes and 2 minutes only. Let us begin with Corey Kaufman.
Good evening. My name is Corey Carlton. I am 38 years old. I am a father of 3 kids that are currently in the district. I have spent some time working in the district, and I grew up in District 95. I am, as a Black male, a Black father, and having those 3 different perspectives of the district, I feel that I have a valuable viewpoint, a valuable experience to bring to the board. I am very excited for the opportunity, and I hope that I am selected to work with the board. I do feel that that viewpoint will help us continue to push in the right direction to help District 95 continue to learn and to be better for our children. If I had to sum it all up, I would say that I'm invested. I'm truly invested in our community. I'm invested in our school system. And my hope and my prayer is to be able to join with the board, working together with faculty, with staff, with the community, especially to build a better District 95 and to propel us into the future. Thank you.
Next up will be Katherine Field.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Katherine Field. I first ran for the District 95 board 4 years ago. The reason that I did so is because I was concerned about the racial achievement gap in the district. We know that those are based on achievement tests, standardized tests, and while test scores don't tell you everything about a kid, when you use them to compare groups of kids, how this group is going compared to how that group is doing, it's some valuable information. And I was concerned. I was also concerned about the number of out-of-school suspensions that were being given in the district, especially among the Black kids. My friends came to me and said, it's a school to prison pipeline and it's got to be stopped. And they were right about that. At the time that this was going on, the previous administration did not seem to be able to acknowledge race at all. Didn't know how to talk about it, didn't even seem to want to admit that there was such a thing as race. But see, here's the thing. if you don't see race, how are you going to see racism? They don't all wear Klan robes anymore. You have to be able to look at what's going on right in front of you. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. I was also concerned 4 years ago about the morale situation in the district. Some of you might remember the teachers had gotten so discouraged that they filed a very public vote of no confidence in the superintendent. And once again, he kind of acted like it wasn't happening at all. He was ignoring that as well. And that's a problem. So I reached out to some of the other candidates running. We jointly agreed that there was probably going to need to be a new superintendent. And we hired one, Mr. Booth, and we're going to have to do it again.
Thank you. Next will be Carlton Smith. Mr. Smith, you need to unmute your mic.
Good evening. My name is Carlton Smith. I am a lifelong resident of the city of Carbondale. I grew up here. I went through the school systems here. All my families and sisters and brothers went through the school systems here, and I have sent their children through the school system here. I remember when the school systems here, when you had Brush and Parish School and others, and when they created Thomas School and named it after Professor Thomas, which is my father-in-law. I've been around the system and have learned a lot of the ills of the system, and I understand the impact that the school system has on children and the relationship with the community. I think there's a big issue there in bringing those two entities together, the school system as well as the community. That's a big factor that has been left out and needs some innovative ways to try to bring those two together. I bring to the board a level of honesty. I bring to the board, I'm a critical thinker. I think for myself. I don't just go along with the group. I look at the facts. I try to adhere to the oath of office, in which was required that we take a look at the finances and protect the taxpayers and also protect the students. And that the requirement in the Illinois Code is that for children to be educated. There's nowhere in the code that said that for the parents to be involved. It is the total responsibility of the school district. I'm from an African-American community, and our community has suffered dearly in reference to the educational system. And one of the biggest elements involved in it is the parents' involvement.
Next up, Ms. Connolly.
Hi, my name is Erin Connolly, and I thought I'd tell you just a little bit about myself. I'm a mom. I have 3 children. 2 are in the district now. I've got a Parish Panther and a Thomas Tiger. And then I have a son who's a freshman in high school who graduated from CMS last May. I'm also a teacher. I teach at Southern Illinois University, and I'm a member of the National Education Association. I'm a licensed and certified speech language pathologist, and I've been practicing for 20 years. I transitioned to teaching from practicing about 4 years ago. And I've lived in this community for almost 20 years. I love the community of Carbondale. I love our children deeply. And I am really running to serve our kids. I don't have a specific agenda that I can point to or platform that I can stand on to say this is why I'm running, other than I love our community and I really want to serve all the children in our community. I think that my experiences as a mom in the district, having had a child go all the way through the district and having 2 coming up through it, along with my experience teaching in higher education, together with the years that I've worked to help people with disabilities, which is a very marginalized group in our country as a whole, people with disabilities, to help them improve their quality of life, whether it be children accessing education, or it's adults helping them to regain parts of their life so they can re-enter into the community. I think that I bring a really unique perspective to the school and to the school board. I really look forward to sharing more of myself with you as we answer these questions today. And I hope as you listen to this and other forums that you will choose to vote for me.
Thank you, Ms. Connolly. And last, Mrs. Roper.
Good evening. My name is Marquita. I've been in Carbondale all of my life, 40 years at least, besides obtaining a bachelor's degree at Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville. I moved back and I've been here ever since. I have 2 kids, Makari and Malia, are students in District 95. I am a wife. I also currently work for the Upward Bound program at Southern Illinois University. It is a pre-college program. I am an incumbent. I'm currently on the school board. I was appointed almost 2 years ago when one of the previous board members left. I was appointed to the position. Some of my goals, my platform for the district is parent and teacher collaboration. I say that because as a parent, you have to collaborate in order for your children to be successful. It's a team, it's an effort, and you have to be a part of that. Success for every student, I say that as a parent because I have 2 kids that are 2 different students. I need to collaborate with those parents to help my children succeed. And all parents should do the same as far as helping their children succeed because every child is different. Also, I think it's important in order to help those children succeed, District 95 can't do it all. We have collaborations with SIU. There's also collaborations with Centerstone, mental health specialists that could come in and help, especially in this time of COVID. Not just for our students, but our teachers, our parents, we all are going through something as a result of our current times. And I think that's very important. Also,
thank you, Ms. Roper. Thank you. As a reminder for our candidates, you did a really great job in your opening statements and adhering to time. For your question and answer period, you will have 90 seconds to answer the question. We have not placed any value on the order, and so the order will be random. No one has been chosen to go first for any particular reason except for a random draw. For those of you who are tuning in, I'm sure by now you realize in this climate, internet is going to do some things that are tricky. And so we ask that you just bear with us. If by chance a candidate gets cut off or put out of the meet, we know that happens. We'll go to the next candidate, and when that person can log back in, we'll return to that candidate and give them an opportunity to answer the question. And with that being said, our first question is this. Tell us a little about yourself and why you want to be a school board member for District 95. Let me repeat that question. Tell us a little about yourself and why you want to be a school board member for District 95. We're going to start with Ms. Fields. Ms. Field, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's funny. And some of the literature, my name was spelled Fields, but it's actually Field, like in cornfield. A little about myself. I've lived in Carbondale for 35 years, raised 2 kids with my late husband. I have a grandson now in in Thomas School. He's a second grader and he loves it. He loves it. He loved his teacher in remote learning and he loves her even more in person. Remote learning, my goodness. I have gone through that all year, just as all the other families have, sweating over a Chromebook, trying to keep the kid from popping out of his chair. It's been a trial. This pandemic has been hard on all of us, teachers, admin, parents, and the kids themselves. I'm not too concerned about the kids losing ground during the pandemic because our district has been able to keep up as well as anybody has. They've seen to it that the kids all have access to the internet and Chromebooks and all the help that they can possibly be needing to learn remotely. As I said before, though, my biggest concern is the hiring and supervision of the next superintendent. That's the most important thing that a board can do. And I would like a second term because you may have heard Mr. Booth has submitted his resignation and we're going to have to do it again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Roper, Mrs. Roper.
Once again, being a native of Carbondale, it's so much. I just feel that this is my community. There's so much more that I want to see in our kids and what they do, the expectations for them. I'm a product of the community. I know that this district works. And as a school board member, bringing that element to my platform, I believe that success for every student is important. And as long as a member of the school board, you work towards those goals for the students, I believe that that's the most important thing. It really is. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Connolly.
So I already told you a little bit about myself, and so I can talk a little bit more about maybe my experiences with the school district, and have all been positive ones. I love our school district. My children are thriving in Carbondale Elementary School District. Great teachers. Every year we've had positive experiences. COVID has really thrown us for a loop as a family. My fifth grader is doing fantastic. His teacher, Mrs. Jenkins, is amazing, and he is learning and gets it. Reagan, my first grader, it's has been a real challenge for us, as I think it is for all kids that are that little. She does not like remote learning. It is not her thing, and she is so glad to be back in school. It's just changed her whole continents to be able to be with other people. We had a plumber in the other day, and she was following him around talking to him because she needs to talk to other people. So my reasoning for running for school board is so that I can really serve my community. And what a better way for a mom to be able to serve the school district that our kids are in.
Thank you. Mr. Cawthorn.
My name is Corey. A little bit about myself. I'm 38 years old. I'm currently a neighborhood inspector for the city of Carbondale. I've spent some time working in the district. I worked as an aide in District 95. I also came up through the district. I was in Lincoln Junior High when it still existed. I have a unique perspective of having three different points of views for District 95, being worked there, having kids there, and have gone there. I believe having that perspective and bringing that perspective to the board, I may be able to have points of views that certain, other individuals may not have or may not have thought of. I think that's very valuable. I also feel like I need to be on the board because I feel underrepresented. I don't think there are very many. I want to crush the stereotype that Black fathers aren't involved, that Black fathers don't exist. Um, Being very involved in my children's education and very involved in their upbringing, I want to make sure that I am represented, and I think it's very important for someone like me to be on the board so that when certain decisions come about or when certain situations arise, that perspective is there, that it's heard, and that I'm able to work with everyone to make sure it's communicated properly and that we come to a conclusion that it benefits all. So thank you very much.
Mr. Smith.
That's right. At this time in history, nothing is more important right now in our community. It is education of our children in light of what is going on, and then especially in light of the pandemic and what has nationally been going on. And if you want your children and your community to grow, you need an educated community, and then need our children to be educated. And if you want that to happen, you have to get involved. You have to be a part of that particular process to assure that the student is learning, to assure that the educational system is functioning properly, and that I'm a member and belong to the Illinois Alliance of Administrators of Special Education and Students at Risk. I take approximately 4 to 6 courses every month online to keep myself abreast of what's going on in the state of Illinois with ISB and the Illinois Code. And I have a special interest in kids at risk and kids in the special ed program. I have a real interest in that. So it's that important. So it's for that reason, and that reason alone, is that I'm interested in, with another term on the school board, to trying to make that happen and to impact that, to get our kids engaged, get the parents engaged, and get the school system engaged with the parents and the community to try to make that happen. There used to be a No Child Left Behind. Now we have the issue of Every Child Succeed Act. And we have to make that happen. So that's my reasoning for wanting an interest in another term on the board. And
Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Next set of questions will come from Mrs. Danielle Cox. Ms. Danielle Cox.
Good evening. Our second question is, how would you plan on creating or promoting Black and Brown diversity in teacher hiring and retention? I'll repeat it. How would you plan on creating or promoting Black and Brown diversity in teacher hiring and retention? First up, Ms. Roper.
So one of the things regarding our district is, the word is Carbondale Elementary School District is one of the highest paid districts as far as teachers. Although money is not a factor when it comes to teacher, I mean, I understand that it's a job and we have to pay for our source of living. But in a sense, it really goes back to, as a board member, having the money, having the support that the teachers need in order to make our children successful, having the resources. All schools don't have those resources. Our school obviously have set the bar in some particular cases. I'll say, going back to this pandemic we're in, our schools were able to provide our students with Chromebooks. I was just at a conference in November, and one of the sessions was talking about providing for them. Would be one instance in which we're making sure that we're choosing the right individuals for the positions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Conley?
Hi, yes, so I think we're talking about two parts of this, which are teacher hiring and then also retention. And I think when we're looking at hiring, I think we need to find innovative ways to get in front of those teachers, to get in front of those diverse teachers so that they see us. And we need to find ways that we look attractive as a district to those teachers. I myself don't have that skill set and that knowledge, but I know that there are people out there. There might even be districts out there that are doing really well at that, and taking a look at them and seeing what are they doing and what can we take from what they're doing to help us get in front of the teachers that we want to hire. And then I think as far as retention, I agree with Marquita 100% when she talked about resources, providing the teachers the resources and the support that they need, and being innovative in that, like she spoke about, so that our teachers have access to technology, to different ways of teaching that sets us apart from other school districts, so that they don't want to leave because they feel so supported by their district.
Thank you. Mr. Carthorne?
Well, I would like to start out by saying I don't know the current, the way that the district goes about looking into hiring teachers and what it looks for exactly currently. But in my opinion, I think it's important that we are looking to hire more teachers that look like the majority of the kids that are in the school. I do know that I would venture to say, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I would venture to say that a majority of the teachers that are teaching in District 95 don't live in Carbondale. I do believe that that is a problem. I also understand that that isn't the goal and objective. I don't think that District 95, went out to look for teachers that don't live in Carbondale. But I do think that it is an issue that we need to pay attention to and figure out how to get homegrown teachers. How can we partner with SIU? How can we even partner with the high school with juniors and seniors that are interested in going into education, and figure out creative programs that keeps them home, that engages them and lets them know, creates a sense of urgency for them to want to serve their community and work in one of the highest paid districts around. So I think we just have to be more intentional and being honest with ourselves about what we need. Because if I'm being very blunt, our young, African American kids need to see teachers that look like them.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Smith?
Yes, that's a big issue in our particular district. Of course, it's actually a big issue in the United States, and specifically in Illinois, is that of the hiring of Black and brown teachers in our school systems. And in fact, there's a big problem in just finding teachers, period. And one of the issues is that teachers, the ability to pass the exam. And one of the suggestions would be is to work with universities and that to make sure that in grade schools, but the high schools and grade schools are making sure that the kids are, first of all, are getting the information that they need so that they can develop in such a way that it won't be as difficult for them to be able to pass that test, because we do want qualified teachers in that. So it's going to have to start at the bottom. So we go back again, it's making sure that students are getting a proper and good foundation in education, and then working with the universities to make sure that they're set up in order to be encouraged to get into the education system and to be able to pass those particular exams to get in. The other one is that immediately in that we're going to have to stop and just say, you know what, we've got to find them here before we start hiring large Blacks of non-African Americans or brown in that, we have got to find some brown and black teachers to get involved. As it stands right now, we got 125 teachers in District 95. Our school population of African American students is 47.8.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Ms. Field?
If you add the students who are Black or mixed race together, it's 58%. I mean, it's clearly a minority school. 81.5% of the teachers are white. That's a problem. We know that's a problem. 11% are Black, 3% are Hispanic. That's also a problem. In my experience, one of the best ways to hire qualified African-American people is to put African-American people in the position of doing the hiring. That speaks more than mere words can say. It says we value our Black teachers, we promote them, we support them. We have done some of that in District 95. We also, as people have already mentioned, we do provide pay, we do provide resources. One of the resources that we did, not last summer, but the summer before, was we did a training for all the teachers on culturally responsive teaching. They all had the opportunity to come to 3 or 4 sessions and talk, listen to the material, and also talk to each other. And Black and white teachers talking together, supporting each other. Thank you.
All right. Our next question. The district has a racially diverse student population. What strategies would you initiate to mitigate student disciplinary inequities between majority and minority students within the district? The district has a racially diverse student population. What strategies would you initiate to mitigate student disciplinary inequities between majority and minority students within the district? Start with Mr. Smith. Unmute your mic, sir. There we go.
Yeah, to try to get an understanding of your question, mitigating discipline based on racial diversity in the school district. Well, the discipline should be the same, and that based upon the fact now, you have some students based upon where they're at. If they have an IEP or have something else, then you have other regulations that come involved that control that. But as far as racial diversity and mitigating discipline, it should be even across the board, and it should be administered the same, and not one group indistinguishable from another, from little petty kinds of incidents, and that because the objective is education. Suspending kids for not having a pencil is outrageous, and allowing others in that to create other violations and not receive any infractions at all is also outrageous, and that. So it should be even across the board, but we also have to comply with the laws and the regulations that are administered by the state and the federal government as you mitigate these circumstances, situations of discipline as it relates to FABE and IDEA and other relations with IEPs. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Carlton?
The time that I spent working at District 95, I myself, I have witnessed different disciplinary actions being passed out to different students. And it does make you wonder, is this racially driven? I've recognized not just the discipline level, but the tolerance level on how certain students are tolerated more than others. And this really goes back to the last question, where you really have to have teachers that look like the students that look like the teachers. When you grow up, well, not when you grow up, but if you are used to dealing with Black children, or if you're used to, and you're not used to dealing with Black children, excuse me, and you're not used to having to have, patience or whatnot with them, you do tend to be ready to, discipline. They listen to the other teachers that talk and say, oh, well, this one's bad. So as soon as that one mummers anything, it's automatic detention. Get out of my classroom. We're not going to start. We're not going to go there. So I think that across the board, it does. Discipline has to be the same. You have to have the same level of patience with one child that you have with the other. You have to be able to treat all these kids the same, because all of them matter and all of them are extremely important. You want all of them passing your class. You want all of them out of detention. And they know this. We don't think they do. A lot of people don't, but they notice when you treat them different. So it has to be across the board the same. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry. Ms. Connolly?
Yeah, I want to echo what some of the other candidates have said about the importance that across the board, discipline is the same, that it's not different for one child or one group of children than it is for another. And when I'm thinking about this, it really brings to mind this quote that I keep with me, particularly when I've been working with children of disabilities, that can be really challenging. And it's, beneath every behavior there is a feeling, and beneath every feeling there is a need. And when you meet that need rather than focus on the behavior, we begin to deal with the cause and not the symptom. And I think that's really powerful when we're talking about children and how they behave and why they're behaving. And I think we also need to think about trauma and giving our teachers that education to be able to think about that. Is it a trauma that's causing this child to behave one way or another? What is it? And so often I think that we tend to peg a certain kid a certain way. And when we continue to think about someone in a particular light, it causes us to see them in that light all the time. And so, I think it's very important for teachers to be able to take a look at children and remind themselves to find the good in every child, because every child does something good every single day. And so I think focusing and shifting the lens that we look through our children will make a big difference.
Ms. Roper?
Can you hear me?
There is a little delay on your speaking.
My internet is. Okay, I'll go ahead and speak. I agree with what some of the other candidates were saying as far as it should be the same across the board. There should not be a difference in disciplinary action. My intentions would be get to the root of the problem. What is it that's causing these students to not be prepared for class? Why are they sleeping in class? Why do they not have a pencil or whatever it may be? Get to the root of the problem. Use some of our community resources. For instance, the partnership with Centerstone, the collaborations with parents, get them involved. Let's find out what it is that's causing some of these students to not be prepared. Don't just suspend them. Don't just kick them out of school to put them back in the environment that could be the root of the problem. So it's finding out what it is that's going on with our students in order to decide what should happen. Punishing them is not always the response to what could the initial problem could be. So basically just finding the root of the problem, working with social workers, collaborations with other partnerships, and to help solve, anything that may be going on within that household or going on with that particular student. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Field?
While we are in the process of trying to get more teachers of color, especially African American teachers, while we are in this long process, we have to deal with the white teachers that we have. And we need to be teaching those teachers. I mentioned the program we did the summer before last, and we're already beginning to see results. After having attended the presentations and reading the book, I had teachers come up to me and say, I've been teaching these kids for 30 years and I never knew. And it's a lifelong process for them and for us, all of us. We white people are pretty late to learn that it's not enough to not be racist. If anything's going to get better, we have to be anti-racist. And we're beginning to see results too among the white teachers. Did you see them out on the street corner this summer? Did you see them? They were out there, I don't know how many times, 3 times maybe, or 4 times, holding up signs saying Black Lives Matter at school in downtown Carbondale, and people driving by and honking. This is progress. It's not enough. We're not done, but it is progress.
Thank you.
You bet.
Our first question is, what specifically should or can the district do to address the low academic progress of Black and Brown students? I'll repeat it. What specifically should or can the district do to address the low academic progress of Black and Brown students? Mr. Carthorne?
During my time in District 95, I worked closely with different students. And one student in particular, I noticed that he was extremely smart when he wanted to be. He kind of chose his moments when he wanted to step up and be the smart guy. And I realized that the environment was not conducive to his learning. He was distracted easily, and he needed a lot of redirection. But if he was taught a certain way, it helped him. I think that one thing that we can do, and again, I haven't been on the board, so this may have already been something that's been brought up and is in the process of being addressed. But I think one thing we need to do is make sure that we understand that every child learns different. And knowing that every child learns different, there should not be a cookie cutter way to approach education. We have to be fluid, just like we've been with COVID, and make sure that every student is getting the attention that they need and they're being taught in a way that is best for them.
Thank you. Ms. Conley?
Yeah, I agree with Corey, and I'd like to piggyback on that a little bit. So every child is different. Every kid learns a little bit differently. You know, sometimes we think about the school or education as being a pegboard with a bunch of round circles, and some kids are round circles and they fit nicely into those round circles. Some kids aren't. Some kids are square, some kids are different shapes, and you're trying to shove a different shaped kid into a circle that they don't fit. And it's really important that we find that we offer education in a variety of different learning experiences so that we hit kids, all the kids can learn. I love what Kathy said about cultural responsiveness, because I think that's a big thing. And I love to hear that the teachers are learning that. That's something I'm teaching to my graduate students is culturally responsive practices in speech language pathology. And we're going through that right now. I think that's a big deal for the teachers to understand where these kids are coming from, but not only that, for the teachers to be able to understand where their bias lies, because we all have bias. And if you think you don't, you're kidding yourself. And that just means you're culturally blind if you think you don't have a bias. So I think it goes both ways. I think it's finding what works for every child and helping the teachers to be able to teach kids that are very different and have lived very different experiences than them.
Thank you. Ms. Roper?
Once again, I think it'll go back to training and educating our teachers as well. Getting rid of the myth or the misconception or the expectation that all Black or brown kids are treated, I'm sorry, that all Black or brown kids are bad kids. Even as parents, stop their academics. They may be an excellent child in your classroom, but how are their test scores? How are their reading skills? How are they progressing in your classroom? They may be an excellent student as far as socially and as far as their behaviors, but we have to focus on academics. So get the myth or like I said, the misconceptions that all Black kids are bad kids and the good ones, you're not focusing on the grades, that's what they're there for, their education.
If the other candidates don't mind, because of a technical glitch, we missed a great deal of Ms. Roper's answer. So if you guys are okay, could we let her rewind that and give her statement again, please?
We were going to suggest possibly turning off your video, Marquita, just because maybe that would help with your bandwidth.
Yes.
Okay, let me try that.
Just as long as we can hear you, let's see how that works.
Okay. So what I was saying, in regards to educating our teachers, getting rid of the misconceptions or the expectations that all Black or brown children are bad kids. If they come into your classroom as a good student, grade them for their academics, not their behavior. There's been times where I hear, oh, he's such a good kid or she's such a good kid, but looking at their test scores or their grades, it doesn't reflect it's very important, has showed positive trends so whatever those strategies are that are in place, we need to continue with that. And like I said, continue to educate our teachers on the importance of academics as well as behaviors. Academics first. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Field?
When I first started at the district 4 years ago, what it looked like to me and other members of the board is that the district had evolved into kind of a two-tier system of education. There was a lot of special programming for the high achievers, and there was nothing much left over for the lower achievers. When we came, for example, the violin program, the TWI program, specialized field trips, one of the first things we did was to cut out these programs, and we caught some heck for it. These programs were popular with the families of the kids that they benefited. But we made a commitment as a board, and I would like to see this continue, to uplift the whole school district, not just, the ones who would probably do fine even without special programs. There are a certain number of kids, they'll be fine no matter what happens at school because their parents have resources. But we have to keep focused on raising up all the kids. If we got kids in first and second grade who can't read, everything else should stop until we get that done, everything. Same with doing math, same with doing science in the middle school, and so forth. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Yes, what can the district do to raise the low academic scores of our Black and brown students? I want to go back again to the parent involvement and at a very early age in the school system, and that and then holding teachers accountable. There's no way that a student should be able to come through a school district starting at pre-K and then graduate from the 8th grade and can't read the 3rd grade. We need to take a look at the bar and then raise the bar and teach kids and that they have to meet the bar. They got to meet the standard. And we got to get parents directly involved in what's happening with their child, and that to get involved so they can help them reach that bar. And we don't want teachers lowering the bar or making it easy. We all know what students are going to have to deal with in life and what they're going to be required to live. And there's no way that we should be reducing that for them to achieve. Then we need to make sure that the students that are entitled to these benefits get the benefits that the federal government and the state has provided for them to get services to help them. And then differential treatment or differential teaching. Meet the child where they're at, and then go from there to help raise the bar and that with the child and that so that can bring them along. But we need to forget about lowering the bar, have a standard. That's the standard you got to make. This is what you have to have, and take the child with that in that aspect. But and then the social emotional learning, we need to take that into consideration.
Thank
of
you,
a
sir.
proper mandating. Thanks.
Thank you. So our final question for you all will be, do you think it is necessary to promote inclusion and diversity in the district's operation? If so, how would you promote the inclusion and diversity in staff, decision-making, and input, i.e. district committees as an example? Ms. Conley?
Did we lose Miss Conley?
Okay, I'll skip her right now and go to Ms. Field.
Okay, Ms. Cox, would you mind repeating the question?
Yes. Do you think it is necessary to promote inclusion and diversity in the district's operations? If so, how would you promote the inclusion and diversity in staff decision-making and input, such as district committees?
If I'm understanding you correctly, you're wondering how the district can promote inclusiveness in staff decision-making, like involving more staff and teachers in decision-making? Have I got that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. As board members, I've said this earlier a few minutes ago, and I'll say it again. As board members, the most important thing we can do is hire a good superintendent and let him hire good people and direct them and supervise them and give them direction, give them a vision, something that we are all working on together. This district, until 4 years ago, till 3 years ago actually, did not have that vision. And we know how important vision is to a people. So what I'm going to answer is it's got to start at the top, and the top has to follow it all the way across staff lines, faculty lines. It's important what the superintendent does, and it's important that we support the superintendent in doing just this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Okay. Well, I think conclusion, first of all, I think that the administration of the district and the school board should demand that in the entire processes and that they get rid of the idea of thinking segregated and start thinking integrating there in that, and integrating in diversity in all things that they do, and to make sure that the books that they purchase, that the students are going to be learning from, the library material that the children are going to be reading from, that the teachers that are going to be teaching are all thinking diversity and seeing it. And with the books in there, they're seeing black and brown books that they're reading from, they automatically you overcome the fact of something that's always white in that. And the same way about how you see who's in the meetings, who's participating in the decision making and that. And that's one of the ways you go about trying to play that down or trying to beat that down and then raise up diversity. But it should be a part of all your committee making meetings and all of your processes in school. You have to think diversity, and you have to think expanding your views as the world looks, not the way you look, but as the world looks, which is diverse.
Thank you. Mr. Carthon?
Yes, ma'am. Inclusion and diversity is extremely important across the board on every level, be it the school board, be it administration, teaching aides, even the cooks. I think it's just extremely important in all levels. And just to save time, I'll give you a quick example of why it's important. Growing up, I never heard the term sock toboggan. And this may be comical to some. I had no clue what that was. I called it a sock hat growing up. You put the sock hat on your head when it's wintertime and cold out like it is now. So if I'm asked the question on the test, you know, what should Timmy put on his head when he's cold? And one of the answers is sock toboggan. I have no clue what that is because growing up in a black household, I didn't hear black people calling sock hats toboggans. So I think it's important across the board that every race, color, and creed is represented so that there's a level of understanding across the board and so that you can communicate better at your department, from the district to the administration to the teachers. It's just extremely important. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Roper? We're having trouble hearing you, Ms. Roper.
To promoting inclusion, and the important thing would be to, as far as committee meetings, the times that you have. What about now?
That's better.
Now,
Okay, so what I was saying was, I don't know exactly where I was cut off, but as far as inclusion,
back out again.
As far as committee meetings, I have a 9 to 5 job. Everybody, church. Can you hear me now?
Miss Roper, we're
Try
not able to
something
hear you.
else.
Do you think maybe
Can you
you
hear
could
me?
call in?
No, yes.
We have a phone number here that we can give you. Maybe you could call in. It's in the chat.
Let me try.
Okay, try that and we'll see, so you can do your closing statement and everything as well.
Okay, Ms. Conley, were you able to hear the question?
Yes, I came back in just in time. And in an interest of saving time, because I know we're running short on that, I want to echo what everyone else said here. I think everyone, each panelist had, and I think excellent ideas. And I would like to also, I think Marquita was talking about this, and I would like to add to the conversation the idea of including all the families in. Like she was saying, that 9 to 5, if I'm a working mom, I might not be able to make it to those meetings at 4:30. And how can we creatively, as a district, reach out to our community parents to find ways to pull them into the conversation, so that everybody, every child's parent has a seat at the table, and that they feel like they are part of the community, because it's not just the kids, it's the parents too.
Thank you. So now we will go to your closing statements, but Ms. Roper, we're going to let you start so that you can finish off your end of your question. And go into your closing statements.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, clear.
Okay. Trying to log in on my phone. Okay, so in what I was stating originally was, as far as meeting parents where they are at, as far as Black and brown, religious, etc., setting your meetings to accommodate work schedules, maybe even having food available, babysitters, providing rides. The district has new vans now, so there may be things to consider when having those type of committee meetings to get parent involvement. Also, another important piece is communication. Parents communicating with teachers, teachers communicating with parents to let them know that these services are available. There's been different district surveys to identify what the needs are. Parents, identify what it is that you need. How can you get the additional help from the district to accommodate you meeting on a Monday evening? Also, as far as my closing statement, did I understand that I was supposed to go ahead and do my closing statement as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, as far as my closing statement, I'm a native of Carbondale. I've been here 40 years for a reason. Back to my focus, my platform, parent-teacher collaboration, very important. Parents, we need the teachers, and that going through COVID, you can see, as being a parent and a teacher at home, we need each other. Success for every student. It's important, Black, brown. We need success for every student across the board. Collaborations, we can't do it by ourselves. So it's important for the district to continue to push for those collaborations with Boys and Girls Club, Centerstone, SIU, to help build and make our students better in their success for life. Thank you. Please vote for Marquita Roper, beginning February 25th.
Thank you. Ms. Field?
Thank you. The mission statement of District 95 can be summed up in 4 words. And you may know these words already. They're on the new crest that you see on the stationery at the top of the web page and so forth. It says engage, innovate, love, and grow. Now this morning before school, Frankie, our 2nd grader, he smiled at me over a blueberry muffin or whatever he was eating. And he said, "Hey, Giggy, do you know how bad Jim Crow laws were?" And I said, "Tell me about Jim Crow laws." And for the next 5 minutes, he told me about Jim Crow laws. It's a little white child. I know that it's Black History Month and there's special emphasis, but it's important for the white children.
Mr. Smith?
Yes. In my closing, and that I want to reiterate the idea of that of community and parent involvement in the school system. I see that as being very key in the success of the school system in educating our children in that. And I'm asking for another term on the school board to see if I can't help make that happen, getting involved in that. Our new policy is ESSA, Every Child Succeed Act. And in trying to meet that goal and meet that demand, we're going to be required to have to do that just to make those things happen. The collaboration between parent involvement, community involvement, and the school system. Not just talk, we have to make that happen to do that, which is a part of our strategic plan in meeting the needs of our students and helping to inspire them.
Thank you. Ms. Conley?
So I love that my children have an opportunity in our school district to go to school with kids from all different backgrounds who have very different lived experiences than my children. I love that they also get the opportunity to have a diverse group of teachers that they get to work with. My husband, Sean, and I, we try to teach our children and to foster that in them, that love for other people, love for people who think differently than you, to pay attention to how we think and listen and learn from other people, because they can incorporate that into who they are as they're growing. And I love that they get that opportunity at Carbondale School District from other teachers and other children. And I want to serve our school district. And I hope that you will put your vote in for me.
Thank you. Mr. Carthorne?
Yes, ma'am. As a young Black husband and father, 3 students in the district, grew up in the district, and even spent time working in the district, I feel like I have a perspective that must be on the board, that it's imperative that I am there to help guide the decision making. I am very much invested in helping and in making sure that the right decisions are made for our kids. So to sum it up, I'll say it again. I'm invested. I'm invested. I'm invested in the success of this district, and I really believe that a vote for Corey Kaufman will help make sure that the district continues to go in the right direction, and that we continue to build upon the foundation that Mr. Booth has laid, turning this district around. Thank you.
We would like to thank all of our candidates tonight and give you all a virtual round of applause. Thank you all. Now we will have closing remarks by the NAACP branch treasurer, Ms. Annie Ampe.
Unmute. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay. Good evening. The Carbondale NAACP would like to thank the candidates, and we would also like to thank the citizens of Carbondale for spending time with us this evening. We know that you were busy and had other things to do, but you took the time out and time with us. For that, we would like to say thank you. And remember, your vote is your voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ampe. And now we will have information on the upcoming April 6th election in our from our branch political action co-chairperson, Tamika Mueller, after which we'll begin the forum for District 165.
I didn't have my picture.
Thank you. So I'm excited that you all have joined us today, and I would like to say thank you for participating. As mentioned earlier, I am going to share with you some information, some just quick reminder of important dates and items. Officially, Election Day is April 6, 2021. And what information is needed for to register and vote. The requirements for grace period and also voting are you have to be a U.S. citizen, at least 18 years of age by Election Day, or 17 years of age to vote in a general primary if the individual will be 18 as of the following general election. Resident of the precinct at least 30 days prior to Election Day. So if you're a student or coming here for a new job, make sure you're in our district for at least 30 days prior to Election Day. And you will need 2 forms of identification. So that might be an actual driver's license and a social security card or a student ID card. You can bring in, if you're homeless, you can use a form of address where you're getting your mail at. So if you're homeless, you can vote as well. We just need proof of your address of residence. And if that's a shelter, we can use that as well. You can use that to register to vote. So everyone is included there. Also, if Illinois residents can check with their local election authority or go online at www.elections.illinois.gov to verify that their registration is correct. So that's your name, your address, all of your contact information. So that address again is www.elections.il.gov. And that's to verify your registration to make sure that you are registered as an Illinois resident. In addition to that, we also have early voting dates, which actually starts in a few days. And that's going to be February the 25th. So early voting starts February the 25th. And please make sure that registered voters may cast a ballot prior to Election Day without having to provide a reason for wanting to vote early. This ballot is cast by personal appearance at the office of election authority. And also the election authority is at the county board, or excuse me, the county, Jackson County courthouse. And that's located at the circuit or the county clerk's office, Jackson County Courthouse, 1001 Walnut Street, Murfreesboro, Illinois, 62966. Voting will be conducted during the following dates and hours for April the 6th, 2021, which is the actual election day, at the county clerk's office on weekdays starting, and then the early voting days, February the 25th, 2021, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. each day, excluding scheduled holidays. So every day from February the 25th up into the actual election day, April 6th, you can vote every day from 8 to 4 p.m., 8 a.m. in the morning to 4 p.m. The Jackson County office will also be open on Saturday, April 3rd, 2021 during the hours of 8 to 12. So if you can't make it Monday through Friday, you can go to the courthouse and do your early voting on April the 3rd from 8 to 12 noon. And lastly, early voting for all poll centers will also be available at the Carbondale Civic Center on the days of March 16th, March the 22nd, and April 1st, and during the hours of 9 to 3 p.m., and that's 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and also at SIU Student Center, March 18th and March 24th, from 9 to 3 p.m. at the Student Center, March 18th and March 24th, from 9 to 3 p.m. If you have any questions, please feel free to go to the Jackson County website, and that's at www.jacksoncounty-il.gov. And you can get all the information from there, and you can just look under the county clerk's office, which is the Frank L. Birds County Clerk's Office. And the direct number there is 618-687-7366. Once again, that number is 618-687-7366. And I know some people received a mail-in ballot. So the last day to get those was actually yesterday, but if you have your mail-in ballot, I hope you all can see this here. This is the actual box there. It's 24-hour surveillance on the west side of the courthouse in Murfreesboro. You can put your mail-in ballot in that box and it's secure. Just make sure that you have it filled in. You have your ballot totally filled in and your certification. You will put your folded ballot into the security envelope and seal. No need for postage on this envelope. Then place your secured envelope and your ballot certification in the larger envelope and seal that. You could drop this off in the ballot, or if you mail it, make sure you
Uh-oh, Tamiko, you are muted somehow.
Okay, sorry. Last thing, the Carbondale NAACP will have voter registration drives March 3rd at Hopewell Church, 4 to 6 p.m., and March 4th at SIU Student Center. And so if you have any questions, just reach out to the Carbondale branch NAACP, and we look forward to serving you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamiko. Good evening again. If you're just joining us, I am Linda Flowers, president of the Carbondale branch NAACP. We see it as our responsibility to provide this opportunity for you to get to meet the candidates and to hear their views before you go and vote on April 6th. And now, without any further ado, I'd like to introduce the moderators for the District 165 Forum. Black Graduate Greek Council of Carbondale members, Jakari Henderson and Reverend Chris Harris.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, my name is Carmen Daly, and I would like to introduce the candidates for the District 165 Board of Education. Wendell Pullman, Steve Savins, incumbent Dr. Francis Sung, and incumbent Julie Van Winkle.
Moderators.
Good evening, everyone. We are going to start with our candidate opening statements. We will allow each candidate 2 minutes to deliver their opening statement, and we will begin in a random order. I am going to start with Julie Van Winkle first. Again, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, good evening. Can you hear me okay? I'm Julie Van Winkle, and serving on the board. I'm asking for the opportunity to serve for another term. I am from Carbondale. I'm a product of District 95 and 165. Earned a bachelor's at Stevens College in Columbia, Missouri, but earned a master's, and my husband earned his professional degree as well from SIU. 2 children. One has graduated from CCHS, and the other is currently a student at CCHS. I'm also a teacher at a local school, and I have kind of 3 main reasons for why I want to continue serving on the board. And the first is equity. The second is easy for me to say, right? The second is excellence, and the third is service. I don't know how I am on the time. So for equity as a teacher, I have been an advocate for my students for years. I learned how to be an advocate for my own children. And during that process, which is an ongoing process, it's just become deeply ingrained in me that every student, every child deserves to have someone advocate for them. And so I can't advocate for every other child that doesn't have someone advocating for them. So what better way?
Thank you, Mrs. Van Winkle.
Where's the card? Where's the time card? But
go ahead and pin Tamiko Mueller.
Yes, are you on gallery view?
I thought I was at the start. Yeah, I asked for the time card just
Right. It should just be there's a red screen on Tamiko's. So if you are on gallery view, you should be able to see it'll be green, then yellow, and then red.
Yeah, but I didn't see it at all.
You need to have it
But
on
I got
gallery
it
view.
pinned. I got it pinned. Okay.
Okay, good.
All right, we are going to move to Wendell Pullman for your opening statement. Again, you have 2 minutes.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dublin ACP, for organizing this forum, as well as the Carbondale Public Library for coordinating all of this. It's been an education just going through this. I do want to also thank our co-sponsors, the Carbondale Black Graduate Greek Council, the Carbondale United, and the Zeta Amici of Carbondale group for supporting this candidate forum. My husband and I have a son, Alex, who's 16, and a daughter, Isabel, who's 13. We have lived in Carbondale for over 10 years, and before that, we were in Marion, Illinois for 8. Both Alex and Isabel have gone to Unity Point, and I was an active parent volunteer with PTO and boosters. I ran the book fair and helped support music and really did a lot of volunteering in the classroom, and that was a wonderful experience. Before the kids went to Unity Point, I was on the board at Presbyterian Preschool when they were at the preschool there. And my board experience is from that board time, and as well, recently I was the secretary for the neighborhood co-op here for 2.5 years. I look forward to talking more with you today. Thank you.
Thank you. We will go next to Mr. Savins, Steve Savins, and you have 2 minutes.
Thank you and good evening. It's really a pleasure to be here and to explain and discuss and also hear from the candidates for the District 165 board. First, a little bit of background about myself. We moved to Carbondale. My wife and I and our youngest son moved to Carbondale in 1994, and I took the position of superintendent of schools for Carbondale High School. We have 3 grown children now with families. We have 5 grandkids, one of which is a student at Lewis, and that's been quite an experience helping him with his remote learning. I earned all of my educational degrees from Eastern Illinois University. My BS, MS, and an ed specialist degree. I retired just under 10 years ago as superintendent at Carbondale, and having worked as superintendent for 17 years. And I'm looking forward really to helping the board and helping the district as I did. I'm very proud of the work that we accomplished during those 17 years and would like to build on that as well as the past 10 years. And I really think I can bring to the board some additional discussion, additional insight, and hopefully help our board move forward and move the district forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Savins. We will go ahead and move forward with Dr. Francis. You will be allowed 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Francis Sung. I'm a candidate for the CCHS District 165 School Board. I have been a school board member for the past 12 years. I'm an OBGYN physician here in Carbondale for the past 25 years. I grew up in Carbondale, and my wife and I graduated from CCHS in 1983. We returned to Carbondale in 1995 and raised 6 sons here, all of who have attended or are currently attending CCHS. I currently have a freshman and a senior at the school. Having been in this community since 1973 and having served on the CCHS board since 2009, I know both the potential and the challenges of CCHS. I know the importance of our school in the lives of our students, both from an academic and a social aspect. I know its importance for our staff and faculty and the prominent and stabilizing role that it plays in our community here in Carbondale and in greater Southern Illinois. We are a leader academically, educationally, athletically, and in the fine arts in the Southern region. It's my goal as a school board member to continue this history of excellence while striving to identify and improve the areas that we are lacking. I want to ensure that our school continues to serve all of our students and to maximize their talents so that when they leave CCHS, they have the skills and confidence to achieve success in whichever way they define that. While I know that this election is uncontested, I hope that this forum allows you insight into the community members that seek to guide CCHS. In addition, I hope that it encourages you to become more involved in the shaping the direction of our and goals for our schools going forward. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Francis. We will now begin with the question format. I would like to notify all of the candidates that you will be allowed 90 seconds to answer the question, and then we will move to the next candidate. We will start the first question with Wendell Pullman. And the first question is specifically, you guys have already told us about yourself a little bit, but why do you want to be a school board member of District 165?
Thank you for the question. As my children have gotten older and I have watched the education process unfold with their own, my son has had an IEP and also a 504, and understanding the backgrounds of how teachers and administration have to juggle mandates from the state as well as their own responsibilities and not making sure they're paying attention to children. In the high school, it's a different situation. The students are expected to do more. They have a great support system usually, but I also think that for myself personally, it's important for me to use my skills as an organizer. I'm a very good listener. I really want to take the time to listen to all points of view. I'm very community minded, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to work for the community.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Pullman. We will now have Steve Savins answer, why would you like to be a part of the school board District 165? And again, you have 90 seconds to answer.
Thank you. And it's really a pretty simple answer for me. Having served in the district for 17 years and hopefully have built a foundation for the district and allowed it to become what I consider to be the top high school in Southern Illinois and maybe most of the state. They have blossomed, they've grown, and I hope to be a part of that. And I felt that having been retired, that I can bring to the board some additional insight, specifically with respect to policy decisions and those things that will move our district forward. And I think my background, as I said, having served here for 17 years, is going to provide me an opportunity to really explore with the rest of the board members and the new administration, and hopefully help us and move us forward to continue the tradition of excellence that we now have at CCHS. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Savins. We are now going to move to Dr. Francis. Again, the same question. Why do you want to serve on the school board at District 165?
Thank you for the question. As I said before, I've been on the school board for 12 years, and I would like to continue the tradition that we started here years ago. I believe that Carbondale High School is a flagship high school, as Steve said, of all of Southern Illinois. We excel in many different things academically, athletically, socially, and in the fine arts. And I think that it's important that we continue to push the envelope for our students to continue that success. On the other hand, I also know the challenges that Carbondale and the high school have. And I want to ensure that we are serving all of our students, that that we are helping the students who are struggling, that we provide programs that are geared towards students who are maybe not college oriented, but still are striving to succeed in other ways. So I think that it's important that we make sure that our school serves everyone, that we bring up the kids that need help, that we be innovative in the ideas, to be strong in vocational education and the things that we can do so that not only our top students, but the students who are not college oriented are also served in the best way.
Thank you so much, Dr. Francis. We will now ask the same question to Julie Van Winkle. Can you please tell us why you would like to serve on the board of District 165? You have 60 seconds. 90 seconds, I apologize.
All right. Thank you very much. Part of why I want to serve on the board for another term is because of how well I was served by CCHS as a student. And there are, many things that we could take away from our experiences in high school. And I was reflecting on the other night, and I was just so grateful that I had so many different kinds of things to be appreciative of from the time there. I would like for my sentiment to be a universal sentiment for all students that go to CCHS. I also would like to continue the tradition of excellence, and but I want to be proactive. Just because you're doing well with something doesn't mean there isn't room for improvement or growth or expansion, just moving forward. So by being reflective or encouraging reflection and being intentional with next choices.
Thank you so much, Julie. I'm now going to hand it over to Reverend Harris, who will provide the next question.
Thank you, Jakari. Again, as you know, you have 90 seconds. I'm going to start with Mr. Savins. Question here is, during public comments at a previous board meeting, a group of community members demanded that the board eliminate the district school resource officer position. How would you make a decision on a political, sensitive, or controversial issue such as this? Mr. Savins.
Absolutely. I firmly believe that being a comprehensive school such as CCHS is, it takes more than just a resource officer to provide for safety and security. It involves and should involve all of the support personnel that we have at the school counselors, the social workers, the administration, students, and most importantly, the parents. However, I also believe that a critical component of that is the use of a school resource officer. I firmly believe that that is something that can be utilized as one of the components of a safe and secure environment for our students. Every parent should have an expectation that when they drop their kids off for school, they're going to be safe and they're going to be in a loving learning environment. And I believe all of the components can be taken in conjunction and worked with, including a school resource officer, to provide that kind of environment for our students, our parents, our staff, and our faculty. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Savins. Next candidate, Dr. Sung, same question.
Thank you. I think that in a decision as big as the school resource officer, obviously we need to have input from all stakeholders in that. So we would like to get input from the community about how they feel about that, one of the things that I think is important is to know that it's not always the loudest voices that are the only ones that are heard. So, I think we need all community members to have input into it. We also, I think, is important to let our community know what our school resource officer does. That, as most people understand, initially when school resource officers were started, they were for the safety of the school, particularly in the situation of school shootings and the fact of response times and so forth. Also, I think it's important for the community to understand that not all school resource officers are the same, and that not all schools use the resource officer in the same way. I think at CCHS, we have had a history of great school resource officers, and I would venture to say that most students who have graduated from CCHS have thought highly of the school resource officers. On the other hand, that is not a decision that is made unilaterally by the school board or the school superintendent, but I think it's something that is a joint decision made amongst all of us in the community.
Thank you, Dr. Song. We're going to move forward. Next candidate, Ms. Winkle. Same question, you have 90 seconds. Again, during public comments at our previous board meeting, a group of community members demanded that the board eliminate the district school resource officer position. How would you make a decision on this political, sensitive, or controversial issue such as this?
Thank you. I think the first job is to seek to understand. So what are the specific concerns? And so first I would simply need to listen and not be reactive. The next part of that is to be sure that I do understand everything that's being presented, and and be able to take a look at ourselves as far as our school. Are we complicit in perpetuating any of the negative experiences for children that are experienced, elsewhere around the country? Are we complicit in that? And then the last part is, who the SRO is critical. It's not, just a rubber stamp that we have an SRO and it's a nameless, faceless person. It's who they are and what their temperament is like is very critical, but also how it works together with the whole system in the school.
Thank you, Ms. Winkle. Next candidate, Pullman.
Thank you. I appreciate hearing what the incumbents and Mr. Savins has contributed to this question. I know it is an issue that the current board will be discussing in the spring, and when I'm elected, I look forward to hearing all the sides about this point, because it is definitely a very important issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman. I'm going to turn this next question over to the next moderator, Jakari.
Thank you, Reverend Harris. We will begin with the next question. What specifically should or can the district do to address the low academic progress of Black and Brown students in the district? We will start this question off with Dr. Song. Again, you have 90 seconds to answer.
Thank you. I think this is a complex problem. I think that as a district, it is important that we identify the kids that are struggling. It is important that we, with leadership, have the feeder schools bring the kids to CCHS with the skills necessary so they can succeed. I think one of the important things that Mr. Thomas, our principal, started recently is identifying the kids that actually have talent but may need some additional help, and rather than having students track to where they're not unable to get into the upper level classes, to offer supplemental help so that they are able to be in the upper level track and therefore be candidates to be in the AP and honors curriculum. And I think that's very important as far as helping defeat the achievement gap that exists currently. Also, I think CCHS is very good with having teachers available to be in the morning and after school to help kids that are struggling, but we also need to work on having the kids actually partake in the resources that are available. And so that involves both the teachers and also parents and the community to utilize the resources that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Song. The next candidate that will answer the question is Mrs. Winkle, and you have 90 seconds. And again, that question is, what specifically should or can the district do to address the low academic progress of Black and Brown students?
Okay, well, I think understanding the curriculum for high school, you can look at it in terms of students, you know, how are students performing when they enter CCHS, but also how are students performing once we have them at CCHS. And each student should be able, every student, whether they're failing or not, you know, should have a relationship, a meaningful relationship with someone on campus, a support system. I think helping, being creative and thinking about ways to support students in the specific ways that they need is also very important. Whether it's tutoring or whatever, but if there's a person that they have a relationship with, along with their teachers and the parents, hopefully a plan for each student can help them move forward. Small class sizes, dedicated professionals to distribute, you know, some students just like to have proximity, you know, someone nearby to help them stay on task with, or support them as they do their work. But thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Winkle. The next question will be for Mrs. Pullman. Again, the same question. What specifically should or can the district do to address the low academic progress of Black and Brown students?
So I don't know what the hiring practices are and how I don't have the data or the information exactly to tell you, to give a complete answer to understand that. I know that the high school has about 1,000 students roughly, and 30% to 10% are probably collectively 40% to 45% are African American, Hispanic, and other races. But I also know that our teachers' student body is about 90% white. So I would hope that when and if jobs are coming open, that we could help our administration to be able to figure out that we are hiring more teachers that look like our student body. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then we will go ahead and in the question specifically with Mr. Savins. Again, the question is the same. What specifically should or can the district do to address the low academic progress of Black and Brown students?
I believe first and foremost, to identify, not label, but identify students that are needing additional help. Only through the identification process can we really attack a problem that's so enormous, not just at CCHS, but across this nation. The achievement gap is something that I know every dedicated educator would like to overcome, that one drawback. And I think identifying those students that need additional supports and then providing those additional supports, whether it be through the traditional tutoring and extra work or summer work or anything like that, but involving the parents And I think that's, when I look back on my years at CCHS, one of the things that we probably made an effort to do but didn't accomplish was getting our parents involved, especially the parents of low achieving kids. And that's something that I think once we get the family supportive of maintaining and recognizing the value of a good education, then maybe our kids are going to accomplish that. So the really identification and then getting the parents involved would be a real step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Savins. I'm going to turn it over now to Reverend Harris to ask the next question.
Thank you, Kari. Next question, we'll begin with Dr. Sung. Next question is, as a board member, what would be your major goals? What would be your objectives?
Thank you for the question. Certainly, maintaining our school with the excellence it has had in the past is a given. So making sure that we continue in that direction is step one. I think one of my other goals that I think is very important is to serve the students who currently may not be getting served as well as we could. I know that as everyone knows, Daniel Booth is going to be coming over as our new superintendent. And I think one of his big goals is to get some vocational programs started that are going to help our students who aren't necessarily college bound, but certainly have a potential for success. And I feel very strongly that, in Southern Illinois, there are many resources that we can use to, including the trades, healthcare, and so forth. So to actually start to initiate a stronger program in the high school so that when our kids graduate, they're ready to enter into a program that they can have a successful career if they are not necessarily college bound. I think that is probably one of my more important goals that I would like to see in the next several years. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sung. Next candidate Winkle. Again, the question, we'll restate it. Again, you have 90 seconds. That is, as a board member, what would be your major goals and objectives?
Okay, so as a board member, my goals and objectives are going to be the district goals and objectives, what we collaborate on creating together. The second, to piggyback off of Dr. Sung, is ensuring that when our students leave CCHS, that they are ready for their next step. If they are going to a community college and going into the workforce, that they show up with the prerequisites needed to start right away. So anything that we can do to make sure our students have the best running start they can when they leave us, that would be my goal.
Thank you, Ms. Van Winkle. Again, same question, new candidate. I've actually went out of order, but Mr. Savins, would you go next, please? 90 seconds.
Yes, thank you. I had to unmute my mic. Really three very simple goals as a board member. First and foremost, do no harm to the district. Implementing programs and policies that are detrimental to our students, to our community, simply serve no positive purpose. So I would, number one, as a board member, want to ensure that I did no harm. Secondly, I would want to maintain the excellent programming and services that we provide, and not only for the upper level students, but for all of our students. And that includes our students with disability, with handicaps, to provide those services that are needed for all of our students. And third and foremost, keep our district financially solvent. I think as a board, it's imperative that in order to maintain the programming and the excellence that we provide at CCHS, we've got to have the dollars to do that. So I would want to maintain our financial position as a very viable position. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Savins. Last candidate Pullman, same question. That is, as a board member, what would be your major goals and objectives?
Well, definitely for the first year, I will be listening and learning. There'll be trainings that I'll be going through, and I know it'll be a completely new experience from the other board positions that I've been on. I really have the time to go to committee meetings, and I want to be proactive, to be a fixture in the school. So I'm very excited to be able to do that. There's a lot for me to learn. And so I'm looking forward to doing that. I know that's not a complete question, complete answer to, but I feel like Mr. Savins, Dr. Sung, and Ms. Van Winkle have a lot of experience, and I'll probably be learning quite a bit from them. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pullman. I'm going to turn the next question over to Ms. Henderson.
Thank you, Reverend Harris. The next question is specifically, what are your views on the role of school and parent collaboration? We will start with you, Mrs. Pullman, and you have 90 seconds to answer.
This actually is a really important issue for me. As I mentioned, my son had an IEP at Unity Point and then was able to grow into a 504. For those of you who don't know that transition, the National Disabilities Act, I'm saying that incorrectly, but basically he was having a lot of support at Unity Point and at the high school. He now has a 504, so he knows he has accommodations to help him be a better student. I think that as a parent, we are all invested in our children. But when I was able to volunteer at Unity Point and see how everybody learns differently, everybody studies differently, and supporting the teachers and communicating with them, when I say supporting, because they're having to juggle a lot of students. I just think it's important that we advocate for communication, and I hope that I can help do that in some way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pullman. The next individual to answer the next question will be Mr. Steve Savins. Same question. What are your views on the role of school and parent collaboration? And you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. Absolutely imperative that we involve our parents. Without parental support in any programming, whether it be an educational class or an extracurricular activity, the band, or any structured programming that we have at the high school, if you lack parent support, you're simply not going to grow. And I would promote that from day one. I think CCHS has done an excellent job of trying to involve our parents in all of our programming needs. And for a school district to grow and to maintain the level of excellence that we have at CCHS, we have to maintain that parent support. And I go back to that, even with the school disciplinary issues and all of the things that are imperative for a school involve the parents, period. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Savins. We will next ask the next candidate the question, which is Dr. Song. Same question. What are your views on the role of school and parent collaboration? You do have 90 seconds to answer the question.
Thanks for the question. I think obviously that parent-school collaboration is essential for the success of the student. I think that it needs to happen at every level. So certainly parents should be collaborating with the Teachers, parent-teacher conferences are, I think, extremely important, yet it seems like we get a fairly small amount of participation from the parents coming to the conferences. So from that standpoint, I think that encouraging our community members to be present, to meet their teachers, and to know how their kids are doing in school. And it's not really just about seeing how their grades are, but I think that it's pretty insightful when I've gone to actually hear what the teachers have to say about my students and how they learn and what their strengths are and maybe what their weaknesses are. So I think that's very important. I think that the school could certainly expand on our parent advisory committee. We have one, but there are only select parents that are on that, and having a greater involvement of the parents in that procedure, I think would be, or in that committee would be very helpful. I also think that as board members, we should always be available so that the parents can contact us and reach out to us to let us know issues that they may have. And so I think that's an important collaboration part as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Song. The next candidate to answer the question will be Mrs. Van Winkle. And the question is the same. What are your views on the role of school and parent collaboration? You have 90 seconds to answer.
Thank you. I think this past school year as a teacher, it has taught me more and more about parent collaboration than my other, I don't know, 15, 17, 20 years of teaching. My best experiences as a teacher have been when I have a great collaboration with the parents or the student's family and the student. And so we've needed this, a balance with I've lost the screen with the time color. There it is. During the remote education, communicating with the families back and forth, and it just takes time to establish that. So every student's going to do better or have a better experience with the more communication there are in relationships that are built. And so the relationships go between the teachers and the parents and the students as well. I don't think you can really separate one from the other.
Thank you so much. Dr. Pullman, the question will go to you next. And again, it is, what are your views on the role of school and parent collaboration? You have 90 seconds to answer.
I think you mean Dr. Sung. I answered the question first.
I apologize about that. Dr.
Okay.
Song, it will go to you. You have 90 seconds to answer.
I believe I answered that already, didn't I?
Yeah, I believe you did as well. So we're going to go ahead and go to the next question. And Reverend Harris, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson. Just 1 minute, I'm getting to my question. Just 1 moment, I apologize. All right, this question is for our first candidate, Ms. Van Winkle. Question is, all board members are elected by District 165 voters. But if elected, you may sometimes have to make decisions that are unpopular, even controversial with constituents. This is in part because as a board member, you have access to confidential information which you are bound to protect. How do you think you would handle a situation like that? How do you understand the line between confidentiality on the one hand and transparency on the other?
Well, boy, that is tough. And might have a little bit of experience with it, I guess. yes, I am representing the community, or that's what I'm hoping to continue to be able to do, is to represent the community. I do trust the community to share their views and needs and wants and concerns and stuff. You know, reaching out, I think this past school year with the pandemic has pushed some parents to you know, push them forward to where they are reaching out and communicating with board members more. And so I hope that's one of the things that continues in the future. Confidentiality is critical, and I think that's something you just have to be, you have to trust the board to be professional and to do their job. And then I guess people can trust you to be professional and do your job because you are professional and do your job. I don't really know what else to say about that.
Thank you, Ms. Van Winkle. Next candidate is Pullman.
I think when you're elected by your community, and if I understand correctly, or sworn in, it's important to hold your responsibilities true to what you are committing to. It is a very hard line, and I think it's really important, though, to be able to engage the parents of the students who we are beholden to. But I also know that the whole point of having 7 board members brings in multiple views, and then we all have to listen to everyone's views and keep that confidential. There'll probably be lots of things that we don't agree on. And those are things that we will talk about amongst ourselves when we're in executive session. But we have to then also vote and then when we vote, stand by what we have voted on in whatever circumstance, because we ourselves are working together to, you know, take care of the high school. So I understand that it's important. I'm very cognizant of it. And I think that that's one of the responsibilities that I will hold dear. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pullman. Our next candidate Savins.
Thank you. Probably no other issue will pose as much difficulty to board members as maintaining the confidentiality, specifically in areas that are required. Student discipline, personnel issues, probably more often than not, those are the questions that will be asked of a board member. And you have to maintain your integrity. You're an elected official. You've got to be honest. And I think the way you handle that with a constituent that's inquiring about something that you simply can't answer, you be honest. Tell them you simply can't answer that kind of question. It's in an area that is off limits. Once you start violating that principle, I think you lose your integrity as a board member. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Savins. Next candidate, Dr. Sung.
Thank you. For me, I don't think that this question is that particularly difficult, in that law dictates by the Open Meetings Act that we don't have confidential discussions or decisions about major issues that involve the school. It's pretty explicit that what remains confidential is discussions regarding personnel and students and so forth. And that is, I would expect that every board member would have the integrity to keep that confidential. When we are discussing personnel, there may be opinions and so forth about who should be hired or who should be fired, or what their evaluation is. However, that is of utmost importance because it affects somebody individually, and that has to be kept confidential. On the other hand, things such as should we build a new gym, or should we re-turf the football field, or those kind of things, those should never be discussed in confidentiality because they affect the community, and by law those are supposed to be discussed in the open meeting. And so that seems to be a no-brainer, that difficult decisions such as those need to be discussed in the open, and they need to be discussed with the community's ability to listen to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sung. That actually was the last round of our questions. However, we do have and will allow closing statements from each candidate. And again, you have 1 minute, 60 seconds. We will begin with Mr. Savins.
Thank you. And again, I want to thank all of those that were involved in putting this forum together. I now have a sense of what it's really
Okay. I believe he's having technical difficulties. Let's move on, and he can come at the end. Dr. Sung.
Sure, thank you. So in closing statements, I think I just reiterate what I said in my opening statement, in that my goal is to continue the excellence that we've had at CCHS for this many years, and to also innovate and develop programs so that we can bring all our students along and to be successful. I also encourage the community to use this as the first step towards becoming more and more involved in our schools. And I would encourage our community members also to become active in school boards and school activities. I think that it's important that everyone participates in order for us to get a bit better district. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sung. Ms. Van Winkle.
Thank you for providing this forum for tonight. It's kind of a refreshing thing to do, since this isn't a contested position, but sharing with the community. However, being a pretty shy person, speaking in this way is not very comfortable for me, but I do value the opportunity, and I appreciate that. I am grateful to have served with a group of amicable people on the school board. We agree to disagree like grown-ups, and but we don't have strife. It's not petty. It's a very positive experience, and I just want the best for our town, and I think that starts with doing what's best for the students.
Thank you, Ms. Van Winkle. Is Mr. Pullman back on? We want to give him an opportunity, if possible, to jump on. I think we actually lost him. I don't think he's.
Would you like me to go ahead?
Yes. I'm sorry. Yes, Miss Pullman. Yes.
No worries. That's fine. Thank you. Thank you again for organizing the candidate forum. It was very educational, and I listened in to the District 95 forum as well. And I just think it's important understanding what that board is working on and trying to achieve. So that was an education from me, just listening to that. I really appreciate the opportunity to serve and take care of my community, be a part of my community, and advocate for my community, and most importantly, the children and students of our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pullman. I do not see Mr. Savins back on. So at this time, I'm going to put things into the hands of Dr. Linda Flowers.
Actually, we're going to go to Robin Johnson, one of our exec committee chairs of the NAACP. You're mute, Robin. You're mute.
So, thank you, Madam President. Sorry for that, everyone. On behalf of the Carbondale branch of the NAACP, we'd like to extend a special thank you to Jennifer Robertson and the Carbondale Public Library for hosting tonight's forum. We would also like to thank the Carbondale Black Graduate Greek Council, Carbondale United, and the Zeta Amici of Carbondale for co-sponsoring tonight's event with us. A special thanks to Ms. Jakari Henderson and Reverend Chris Harris for moderating tonight's forum, and to all of the candidates for your being available for tonight's Q&A. We thank you all for viewing, and we ask that you please remember to vote on April 6th. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. Good night.
I think Steve Savins is back on. I didn't know if we were going to allow him to do his closing statement.
That's fine. I think you got the thrust of I was laughing with my wife. It's typical. Our system went down and we had to, we're trying to get back on. Hold on a minute. No, I'll not lengthen the meeting at all, but I do appreciate the opportunity, and I apologize sincerely for the end of the meeting there, but our system just went completely blank and we finally got it back up. So, but thank you all.
Thank you so much. It happens. Everyone have a good night.